Hey guys, welcome back to Final Sector. We are back for another race. You can tell that not only are we ready from a break from F1, but probably a break in general for both of us.
It's been a lot.
As much as F1 has been exciting, if you haven't already, probably listen to our debrief on Hungary because, oh my lord, that will just spill into this weekend, I am sure.
It's definitely out as we're recording this.
Yes. Well, it's rendering. I mean, that
Okay,
counts,
yeah,
right?
okay. Good stuff.
So we are off the back of quite amazing, weird, interesting weekend, heading straight into another race that even on the dullest of seasons, we still often are excited about. So the fact that the context is what it is in the world of F1 and we are heading to Spa, how do we keep this under half an hour even, or an hour of just trying to predict what the hell is going to happen this weekend?
Yeah, well, it's going to be even harder because the return of rain is very, very likely.
Surely nothing bad happens when rain comes to Spa.
No, especially on the Saturday, which is the qualifying day. That's like the most likely chance. It's like 80% chance as it stands.
Correct, that's what I saw.
And then the race day is like 20% chance. They're saying it's probably likely to be dry, kind of like we had last year. And that threw up some interesting
familiar?
things. Yes. So I don't really know. Like last year, obviously we had the McLarens that were super, super quick in those wet conditions, and then they came to the race day, and obviously they threw on a bunch of downforce, and then it came to a dry race, and they just were absolutely crap. And they also didn't have the straight line speed that they do this year. They will have learnt from that. Assuming it obviously all plays out the same way, but just in general, I think that McLaren is a much stronger car than it was last year as well, particularly their top end speed. They don't have that deficit anymore. You would expect, given how fast they were here last year, they're probably a pretty damn good contender here as well. So, but I'm curious who you think is actually going to be strong, because I don't really know. Mercedes, it's been meant to be a bit colder as well, so Mercedes could be right back in there too. They weren't too far off even in the extreme heats in Hungary. So Ferrari, generally, they tend to like these sort of circuits. Could they kind of force their way back into it? I don't really know. Are Red Bull just way too strong here? They've been pretty dominant the last few years. I don't really know.
To be honest, I've seen actually a lot of chatter from a lot of teams being pretty open what they think here. I mean, teams normally give some sort of preview, but sometimes they airy-fairy it. They say what you say. Ferrari basically saying the issues that we're battling, this is the worst circuit for it.
Oh, so for the bouncing. I did see that.
Yeah, they think they are going to really struggle. Red Bull apparently are reverting some of their upgrades, which is a big enough statement.
They seem to, from what I was reading, apparently it's not because they didn't think the updates worked. They think that because Hungary is such a downforce heavy circuit, that
the older package may be more of a lighter downforce package anyway.
Yeah, so it's maybe there's a good chance it was already planned that they were going to do this anyway.
It's still interesting for a package because often you will have teams change front wing, rear wing spec, maybe open or closed cooling, but to kind of like revert a package is pretty substantial. I mean, there's no reason, I guess, that if you do change a front or rear wing, you change a package. You just don't normally see it. It's probably why it sticks out a little more.
Yeah. Maybe that's what they're trialing. They're trialing to see if it's worth doing more than just the standard stuff you do for high downforce, low downforce tracks. So, who knows?
Or they may just be setting up their car to be a good car for overtaking. We may see a lot of Red Bull overtaking this weekend, and we're not just talking about Checo. He might actually, for once, have his teammate starting near him, because by the sounds of it, Max is taking a new ICE, almost confirmed, which means it's guaranteed 10 places. That's if they don't do more, depending how he qualifies, depending how they feel they are. Teams can use it as an excuse to bundle more, to just, cash in on a loss here, so you take less losses in the future. Used to actually be a lot more common, 3 or 4 years ago. We expected every team to have 1 or 2 race weekends where they would just start at the back. Don't actually see it that much more, which is a good thing. pretty notable, I guess. I think this is the first penalty for taking extra parts, maybe second or third.
I don't think it's the first. There's definitely been a couple, but they're more like,
but it's
I think
not
Alpine
been that common at all. Yeah. And for a team like Red Bull to be taking the IC halfway through.
So a lot of that has to do with the fact that one of their engines was like completely not recoverable. They sent it back. That one of their engines that failed. They were trying to get it fixed, and from what I understand, unless there's more recent information, they basically said, it's like completely unrecoverable, and they just can't use it for the rest of the season. And they wanted to take it here because they thought, even if Max starts outside the top 10, overtaking here really, really easy down the long straights. So particularly the Camel Straight at the back there. So but in saying that, normally you would take this penalty and you'd expect Max, okay, he'll get P1, so he'll start P11, right?
He used to be the guy that no matter where he started, wasn't it even last year, he would win. He'd start 18th and he would win.
Yep. But like
last race weekend, where did he start?
Yep.
Was he
third?
Where did he finish? Fifth?
Huh?
Dang. Oh, okay.
But it's well, that's the thing. It's like even with qualifying, particularly if it's going to be raining and the McLarens and the Mercedes are both pretty quick in the cooler, wetter conditions on the one-lap pace. Say all four of those drivers out qualify him, he qualifies 5th, starting 15th immediately, and that's without any other penalties, which if he's starting 15th, chances are he might just take something else and just start from the pit lane and bank on a safety car and just...
Yeah, and if they know he's starting from the middle of the field, why would they necessarily even give him a better car for qualifying? You feel like McLaren, who sometimes go for more a race car, may go for more of a quali car because they know actually they could be quite strong there and hold others with the dirty air. Max, they may need to give him a dry race car, which means he won't have a quali setup or a wet setup. It was a bit of what I was about to mix up my words. It's a bit of what McLaren gambled on last year, hoping it would be a bit more damp because they really went more down the cold or the wet conditions.
Yeah.
And you do need to make those decisions here because high-low temperature, high-low wind, high-low rain or dry can drastically change how you set up a car here just due to the nature of the circuit. So you really need to lock in what you're going to do and figure out, is it the Saturday, is it the Sunday you're going to be strong with?
Yeah.
It's going to be a very difficult weekend, and even if Max goes all out, you'd be pretty confident to say if he thinks any part has gone wrong that wasn't his fault, he will be very vocal about it. So we will probably hear if he thinks the team have not made the right choice. Mercedes are kind of a bit of a dark horse in a way. Like you mentioned them before to say how well could they do. I don't really know. You'd think, given their form, particularly Hamilton's form, and Russell isn't doing that bad. He did get really kind of shafted with the qualifying as much as that was his fault. I also, they team kind of stuffed him up a bit there with how they put him out. You'd expect him, if that car is doing quite well, it's no reason to think he wouldn't adapt to it as well.
Yeah.
To keep up kind of with the pace we've seen from Hamilton recently.
Yeah, it's not long ago he was Mr. Saturday, right? So everyone knows he can do it. So
exactly, 100%. So they could, even if they're not challenging directly at the top, they'll still probably be near enough there to keep McLaren on their toes. Or maybe they will be challenging at the top. I wouldn't be surprised. They've been quietly confident. Again, gone from every weekend this year where we were saying, it took us like 7 races to go, finally, Mercedes are lost. They haven't got it. And then they're like, psych! And they're back, apparently. This circuit did get resurfaced since we were last here. That's mainly going to affect, apparently it's far, far more grippy.
They're saying like 3 seconds potentially a lap quicker.
For GT3 cars that did go through a transition, they did see 3 seconds.
Okay.
Probably won't be as much in F1 because those cars rely a lot more on lateral grip, so having a grippier surface means you can throw it in more. It will still be an increase in F1, so we should see faster cars around here. Also assuming that it is, dry for the most part, of course, but I guess it might be interesting if it's damp. We have seen often water and new resurfacing sometimes producing a slippery, oily surface. So it will depend how they've resurfaced it, whether we're going to go back to that iconic Turkey race where it was like even how the hell are you driving here?
Yeah.
Or whether it'll be, hopefully it's just not as much. It doesn't look like it should be as much of a deluge in the past, which is good for having the event on, and probably good in the back end mind of the fans that they're not going to get completely ripped off again. I did see quite a interesting headline that, as much as it was clickbait, it's not entirely impossible to be untrue, which was it was basically talking the 3 drivers who might be entering their last F1 race at the Belgian Grand Prix. You kind of went, yeah, I mean,
Sergeant Perez,
Ricardo, maybe.
Ricardo's a stretch, and even Sargent's a stretch.
I know. The Checo thing has been rumours anyway, with Max starting further down the grid, I mean, he basically have to win to almost get any good standing here or be bloody close to it.
Yeah.
The other is interesting, whether it's Ricardo or whether you're talking about, I don't know, like there's a few others you could maybe theorize about. I would suspect it more to be 2, you could more confidently say, there's an outside shot. 3 seems a little high. I didn't actually click it so to see who it was. I just saw the thumbnail.
Yeah, don't give them the engagement.
I'll note that. No, I think it was from, I can't remember the source, but I remember, I can't remember the exact name of the source, but I remember looking at it thinking that it was like one of those that, isn't normally that bad. So they're probably just having fun to say, look, this is actually interesting. This could be a real thing that could happen this year. So I thought it was worth bringing it up anyway. Maybe it has something to do with Ocon, or maybe not. I mean, we've finally got that news that we thought might break last week, that he's leaving No, he's not leaving F1. He's going to...
He should be.
Haas. He's going to Haas. How kind is it of Alpine on this weekend to go, hey, Haas has a red logo. Let's paint our car red this weekend to celebrate that Ocon's leaving for Haas.
That's a good point. I didn't connect those two. That's funny. Yeah.
So there will be a lot of chatter probably about Ocon, both because the car, they're running a Deadpool and Wolverine car, which actually looks strikingly different. You sometimes see teams running a different livery, like McLaren, they have a bit of Google Chrome on it, or Red Bull, and they have a bit of red paint splatter.
Yep.
But this time they're like, no, the entire car is literally like a Deadpool suit with Wolverine's claws through it.
I thought it was like it almost looks like what an Audi livery might look like, just color scheme wise. I'm like, Audi of T something. I'm like, that's an Alpine. Oh, that's not what I would expect. So
so
kind of nice.
It is kind of nice. So there will probably be a bit of eyes on their team for more than one reason this weekend. Again, we will talk, I guess, more through that and what is still to play out in terms of the driver market and teams and such during our summer/winter break, depending where you are in the world. Podcast that we'll go over, but that has been announced, so if you are tuning in, you'll probably hear that referenced throughout the weekend.
And as an off note as well, Mattia Binotto getting the Audi gig.
Oh yeah, it's been announced to see Tio and COO of
is just been booted, even though he was
going to apparently leave.
Yeah,
even though this is like his project that he's setting up and getting ready for, and that's why he came on board. But now they're going, no, we're going to put Mattia in there.
Yeah,
that's an interesting one. We could spend a while on that.
Don't understand that.
We need to bring back our I don't know if we had a name for it. The podcast we used to run in the downtime weeks where we share news and such. That's a perfect one for that. A humdinger to talk through.
Whole podcast on that, because I feel like there's a lot of with no other news outside of the announcement. There's kind of a lot of layers to that one. Like we expected Binotto, like if he was going to come back, it'd be pretty quickly after he is booting from Ferrari, and then he just sort of disappeared and no one talked about him again, and then boom, he's here and he's running a project that already had a head in Andreas Seidel
that was brought in to prepare to run for Audi.
Yes. Anyway,
and
let us know your thoughts.
Arguably, it was a very strong candidate, but yes, let us know your thoughts. You're a good point. We should probably chat on it more after the weekend, and probably after we learn a bit more. There's also apparently some pretty interesting people, Mattia Binotto even once. So again, we'll go through it. It'll reveal itself. So as if there wasn't enough for us to try and keep track of coming into this weekend, there's a lot going on around in the paddock of F1. I think there's a few rookies and tire tests and all that after the weekend too. Again, we'll probably dabble on that after they happen during the summer break podcast, because it's the best time to get into it all.
Yep.
But what we do need to get into is our predictions, because that could take double as long as this podcast has gone already. We should say that we both decided to just go for the same predictions last weekend, which meant that we both got second and third right, but it was not Max that won, so we don't get the clean sweep. We do get 2 each for that. We were both very close, as we alluded to again in the Hungarian debrief, that we almost got our P5 prediction, but it was Max. That was probably the last person I would have predicted in P5, if I'm honest with you.
Well, considering we both put him on pole, then yeah.
Yeah, for the win.
Yeah.
There was a lot of drivers I would have put in P5 instead. So close, yet so far.
Well.
So that means heading to this round, it is 18 to myself, 19 for you. So, it's still close as anything.
Yeah.
And we do need to, I guess.
Go on. I was going to say, do the random number first, but I'll make my point after you do that.
I said pick a random country. That's not what I want at all.
And today, for the random position, we're picking Singapore.
Have we done 14?
No.
That's a pretty lowly number to do it. We'll do 14. P14.
Albon.
Magnussen. Okay, good. I'm glad we didn't go for the same. One day we'll actually pick the same one at the same time.
Yeah.
Is it now time to make your...
Oh, I was just going to say, with Max getting his 10-place grid penalty, this might be a good weekend to use your no Max on the podium. You already thought about it? Okay. I was given...
And then you obviously know the rule, as we established at the start of this season, that you can only choose one weekend to have Max off the podium. Every other weekend you have to have...
Oh, get fucked. Hell no.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's complete hearsay. It's only because you genuinely, as we're alluding to, could keep him off here with pretty... You'd need a really good reason, I actually think, a bit of spoilers, to put him on the podium this weekend. Far cry from what we had last year, which was... He's starting P18. Well, sure, who cares? P2, who have you got? So, it is a bit of a gimme for me, but I almost feel like that rule, won't actually matter by the end of the season with how this is going.
True. I reckon there's going to be more weekends where he's not on the podium. At this rate, so,
But how do we go about this? Do I have a feeling we might have picked the same? Do I have a feeling it might have gone completely different? I don't. Where should we start?
Well, I mean, it sounds like you've got Max off the podium. I still have him on the podium.
Oh, okay.
But I've got him P3. I think that car will come through the field, particularly new engine as well. There's enough chances of safety cars, and if there is rain and things and anything that gets thrown up, he can fight through the field. I think a lot of his troubles in Hungary was the fact that he was stuck behind Hamilton for so long, because you can't really overtake and you need to have a clearly faster car there to properly overtake. Spa, you don't. You just have to have DRS down the Kemmel Straight, realistically.
And they've got pretty efficient DRS by the sounds of it.
Correct, yes. So it won't be an absolute cakewalk to P1 like it has been in the last couple of years. But yeah, I think... Unless he is starting from the pit lane or P20 or something stupid, I think there's a good chance he can still fight his way up to the podium. So, but we'll say P3.
When I was writing it out, I initially did put in P3, and I thought, I guess he'll catch up to there. I don't know if it was necessarily the rule to say, look, if I have to use this no max thing, this is a good chance to use it. I think there was enough of a case to put him off it. I mean, the fact that you've gone with something different for P3 at least is fair enough. Yeah. I have got Lewis there again.
Okay.
I think it's hard to put him off the podium now with the form that he's in. We just talked about the car. We think it'll be decent enough. So if we think it's pretty safe to say there might be at least one Mercedes on the podium, and then I still think it might be him over Russell. I've not put Russell higher. I guess that's another thing that I've not done.
I'm curious. Actually, I know exactly who your top two drivers are. I don't know.
What do you mean? This is a very hard week to work out.
So you're Norris, Piastri, P1, P2, I'm guessing. You still think Norris will get P1?
tune in after the weekend, guys. Enjoy the Grand Prix, and we'll see. So I'm curious with you whether you have similar or whether you also have Lewis there somewhere.
I was trying to decide that myself. I think I'll probably put Lewis P2 and Norris P1.
Okay.
I know Oscar's he had a good weekend in Hungary. There was obviously, we've talked about that. Watch the debrief.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, he could be strong here again. He really could be.
Yeah.
And he was last year. He was very, very strong in the sprint race and in qualifying, and he had a lot of pace. But I don't know, man. It's just the margins are so tight, and
they are.
I don't know.
You feel like if push comes to shove, if there's something where people need to put out an edge, we kind of go back. Who are the 3 drivers who could really pull something special out of the hat?
Yeah.
Norris with that strong car. Lewis is on an absolute roll.
Yep.
And Max is Max.
Yep.
Piastri might even be leading for part of it, and he gets unlucky with a pit stop, or he just makes a little error. Or, again, he just gets past at the end, I can see it. I can see it working out. I guess I kind of just see the momentum from that team so strong. I think Norris is a no-brainer because I think he will be savagely hungry for a win after last weekend.
True.
He's almost at the point now where he took so long to try and get his first win, and the car has been building and building and building, and now it's like he almost now needs to start his legacy. I feel like from this race onwards is almost like the Norris legacy in a way. That's how the picture he'll be wanting to paint. He would love towards the end of the year to almost point back to Hungary to go, you should have given me that win for the points. I can see him underneath using that to drive him. In a way.
Yeah.
So, but even for the short term, he will. While they know the car is strong, he's going to be on fire. I think P2 down is actually really tricky. I think that car will have just enough to keep Piastri ahead.
Yep.
And Max won't get enough to bother the top 3.
Yeah.
Seriously. But your layout also looks perfectly logical as well. I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, you could put Piastri there, and I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. But you can't have 4 people on the podium. That's not how math works. Like,
maybe he'll get in there anyway. It's like, but then who gets taken off?
I
don't know. Just
Yeah.
Maybe they'll be over the line at the same time.
Yeah, exactly the same time. That'd be interesting. How would they decide that if they get a freeze frame and they're exactly the same?
It would probably be a count back to the prior lap. Maybe the prior sector who was ahead. There would have to be a rule in place because they have it for qualifying. It's not impossible. They'd have to have something. That's all we've got. That's all I've got. I assume that's all you've got.
That's all I got.
I even forgot to put this up. So shout out.
Oh,
there you go.
nice.
Real ones know.
No, he's got a gun. Put the gun down.
The classic when I was a kid and I always thought this circuit looked like an Uzi.
It sure does.
It's still the picture that I get in my mind. Shout out to Deadpool, I guess, with the Uzis. Hey, that's why they released it this weekend. It's all coming together. Alpine, Ocon P3. Ocon P3. I changed my mind.
P3, Gasly P2. They still won't get the win. They're not quite that fast, but.
No. Tsunoda P1. There you go.
Hey,
anyway, it's
All
enough yabbering.
Yeah.
Indeed, enjoy this weekend, everyone, because it should not only just be a banger of a weekend, but we will have a little bit of a break. So
or F2 and F3, everyone. Is everyone caught up? I definitely am.
At least you will have time afterwards to catch up. And then once you're caught up, you can tune into our F2 and maybe partial F3 with your host, Michael, debrief.
I don't remember shit happening from F3 except for the fact that it's been chaos in the last couple of races.
Well, you'll have a better idea than I do, so that's why if there is anything, you only go through it. Certainly F2. I'm enjoying, looking forward to both making sure I'm up to speed on it because it's looking quite a cracker of a season and, of course, having a chat, debriefing that too. But anyway, that is in the future. We will enjoy Spa for now. We hope everyone listening will enjoy Spa. Thank you for tuning in so far. If you're a new fan, an old fan, always appreciated to hear from you and to see that you're watching and listening. But we will catch you on the flip side.
Bye-bye.
Take care.